Hey everybody, welcome to OnPodcast, the On Microsoft podcast, which is the only podcast for On Microsoft that talks about Microsoft things on a podcast. I am your co-host today, Kareem Anderson, and I am joined by the world's greatest co-host.
Arif Bacchus.
Yeah, and we have a surface-packed podcast for you today. So if you're into hardware, stay tuned, and if you're not, stay tuned anyway, because I'm sure we'll cover something that you might be interested in. Just to kind of ramble off the top, here's some of our topics that we're going to be covering in this podcast today. We got our big interview with the Microsoft enthusiast, Shane Craig, and he's going to be talking to us about how he got into being a Surface Duo owner, what it's like still being a Surface Duo owner after so many months, and kind of his hopes and aspirations for the Surface team, what he likes about Microsoft, what he likes about Windows, all the good things all of us are interested in, and then we also have some Surface laptop stuff you can probably jump into.
Yeah, we had some leaked information about the Surface Laptop 4. I mean, we've talked about it like for every episode now for like the last 2 months because we keep expecting Surface Laptop 4 and we don't know when it's going to happen. But apparently, this publication, a German publication, got their hands on some leaked information and Surface Laptop 4 might be coming as soon as April 27th. So we'll just get you back up to speed on all of the leaks.
Yeah, and then we also have a short conversation about the Surface Pro 7 and iPad ads that continue. This one I don't believe has Justin Long in it, but it's still something worth discussing because, again, it's Microsoft going after the creative market once again, and we'll see if 10th, 12th, 13th times the charm.
They're going back like I think when first Surface RT first came out, they had the awesome ad where Surface was mocking the iPad and Siri's voice, and that
Yeah,
was awesome. And
as long yeah.
this new ad is also awesome, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Well, as long as they stay away from the flash mobs and the choreographed dancing
Oh
in the
yeah.
courtyards, I think we'll be okay. Then we also have some not so good news, which is hackers managed to get a hold of 500 million LinkedIn user profile data, and they are trying to sell it on the black market. So we'll talk about the specifics of that deal. So far, there haven't been any really updates about uh, what LinkedIn's doing, but we'll cover some more of that. We have one more thing, and this just kind of came up, I believe, last night, which is someone got their hands on a dummy unit of the Surface Neo.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that video
So
surfacing on YouTube.
we'll talk about that briefly again, just as quickly as we brought it up right now.
Yeah, and speaking of quickly, week ahead is where we usually quickly talk about the topics that we expect to be big for Microsoft and here at On Microsoft in the week ahead. And for that, we're going to talk about E3 2021, some updates for Teams, some more about Xbox Game Pass, and well, what do you know it? We do have another guest coming on the show next week too, so we're teasing that guest appearance.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that want to say a lot of things about on our podcast, so we hope you enjoy.
Yeah, and I'll let you get started and introduce our special guest for our first topic.
Again, this gentleman, I mean, as far as I know, probably has the biggest or largest library of Surface Duo content on YouTube. So if you are a Duo enthusiast, I believe he has at least 20 videos discussing the intricacies of the Surface Duo. So I would, again, advise you to hit up, you can type in Shane Craig, or you can type in, I believe it's Scary if Literal is what his Twitter handle is, and I believe his YouTube channel is titled as well. But again, it isn't just Duo talk. I think he recently bought a Galaxy Fold 2 to kind of compare the two. He talks about all kinds of tech news, and he's very active on Twitter. Really great guy, and we're going to jump right into his interview and let you guys get a feel for him.
To the magic of Teams, he'll be in a few seconds. Just let him in, and we'll get
Magic.
started.
Well, I'd like to say welcome, Shane. Thank you for accepting the invite. It's been a real big interest of ours to get you on here, man.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I appreciate you guys inviting me on the show. I'm honored to be on.
Yeah, my buddy here, Arif, was a big Duo fan,
Oh
enthusiast
yeah.
when it first launched, and I want to say within like about a month, he was ready to kind of like move on And so just, I mean, I've said all that to say this, that seeing you still continue on has been very interesting, to say the least. And it's also been for a fan who was, a longtime Windows Phone user, things like that, I'm interested to see how people continue on with Microsoft products. 'Cause I know for the most part, I'm a big Microsoft fan. It's sometimes very hard. It's hard to justify to any friends or family about it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. The Duo is a strange beast, and that's a great point of, hard to justify would be. Yeah, that's I've had so many people ask me, should I buy the Duo? I'm like, I don't know. Like that's a question you've got to answer. All I can do is provide as much information as I can, as much data as I can, and then people can then watch that content and decide for themselves. Because like I said, it is a niche product for sure, and only you're going to know if you fit that niche or not.
Definitely. And with that being said, let's, kind of just get into this. With You said you like to give information. Let's let people know about you. I know one of our first questions was, just to kind of ask about your background, give us a little bit about, how you wound up on YouTube and how you wound up talking about tech, and, just how you got to where you are today.
Sure. I have always been a huge tech fanatic as long as I can remember. Just always have been that kind of person. They always say money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy new hardware, and that makes me happy.
I need to get a shirt that says that.
Yeah,
Everyone loves new toys.
Yeah.
No,
New tech toys.
it's the best. And I've always been more fascinated by hardware than software. Software is cool, but there's something about the tactility of a device that just still to this day, I don't know when I'll ever not be excited by that.
Yeah.
So I've always loved tech. And as long as YouTube's been a thing and tech tubers have been a thing, whether it's people like Mr. Mobile or MKBHD, who's like just on a ridiculous level that is hard to compare to anybody at this point. But a lot of these guys, there's so many of them that are great. Even people like Brad Sams, who I'm sure you guys know, and some of your viewers probably know too. I love that stuff. I'm one of those people that I'll watch reviews for phones that I have no intention on buying. None. Just because it's like, it's entertainment to me. So I've always loved that stuff. And, I was working a normal retail job. Strangely enough, I was running a distribution warehouse for an auto parts retailer. Don't know, still to this day, not sure how that happened, but that's where I was. And I was burned out, I was working, 55, 60 hours a week. And, you get to a point where, that was a goal of mine. I reached the goal that I wanted to get to. It took me a few years. I got there. This was a big deal where I was, and I was not happy. I was stressed out and just unhappy would be the word. And after my wife, Jessie, who's on the podcast Revive with me that we do monthly, she'd been encouraging me for months that I needed to make a change because she could just see that I just wasn't happy. And this was my dream. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to make content talking about the things I love, which is tech, and that's what I wanted to do. And I was in a fortunate enough place that we had, just the two of us. We didn't have any kids. My mortgage isn't super expensive. I bought my house on the housing market crash about 10 years ago. So I lucked out in a lot of ways. So I was like, I've got an opportunity here that I could realistically take 6 months to a year and just be like, I'm doing this as hard as I can, and let's just see what happens. And after waffling on it for months, I got to that point, and I took her advice and her encouragement, and I said, I'm doing it. Worst case scenario, 6 months goes by and this is a disaster, and I go back to get a real job again. But then I'll know, right? I'll know I will have shot my shot, because the last thing I wanted to do is, an employee of mine had, right before this, had passed away. Not to get too morbid or too dark here, but and that got me thinking, because time goes by really fast. Like, I'm 31, I'll be 32 in September. That felt like I blinked and I was like, oh my God, I'm 30. Like, what happened? And so I'm thinking, what do I want my funeral to be like? Is it going to be like, well, Shane, he loved, tech, but he worked a lot, he every now and again he got a chance to do the things he liked. It's like, man, like, is that what I want my legacy to be? All I do is work. It's all I do. I work and I go home and I'm exhausted and I go to sleep. And that was another piece of it. It was like, I gotta go for it. If it's a disaster, it's a disaster, but I will know that I gave it my shot, and I can rest easy with that. And it'll be a year in July since I quit my job to do this. And so far I'm hanging in there. We'll see what the future holds, but we're still rolling.
Yeah,
I could relate to you because I do my job. I write about tech for a living for two different publications, and it's absolutely fun. It's what I've always wanted to do, and it's so awesome to be able to write about these devices and even I don't make videos. I mean, I occasionally do, but you're a YouTuber, you make videos and you're honest. Your videos are super honest, and it's really awesome and really fun to be doing something that you always dreamed of doing and that you love doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I know there's the old adage that I don't know exactly what it is. What is it? Like if you do something you love, you'll never work or something like that. There's a much more, there's a better way to say it, but yeah, you get my meaning.
Well, I mean, we're definitely obviously wishing all of us, and especially you as well, great success in the future. And if there's any way we could help do that, know that you have some friends here in the tech community as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's, I think we're going to have to get everyone into why we're here. And we have because our podcast is, this specific one is service heavy. We have a lot of service content, and you're just like, the entree right now, and, about the Duo. So if you want to kind of get into where you came from before the Duo. So again, I don't know if you're a Windows Phone user or if you were using a Pixel, whatever you were using before, why you chose the Duo, and what it's been like that people who haven't followed you on Twitter or your YouTube videos might be interested in.
Sure. So the phone I used before the Duo was actually the OnePlus 7 Pro. Which is a really great phone. We've been really happy with it. But in the past, I've owned Pixels, I've owned LG V series phones, and then going back even further, I was a WebOS guy, Palm Pre, Palm Pixel. I was all about the WebOS. So maybe that might paint a little bit my decision to go with the Duo. Like maybe I don't have the greatest track record for picking flagships.
Failed phone divisions.
I'm drawn to weird devices. So every phone is just it's a candy bar slab, and they're kind of boring. Like the best phone like that is still like, how long has the iPhone been out now? Because we're still copying the iPhone's design.
I'm going to say too long because I'm not an iPhone fan, but that's just me.
So long that we can't even remember.
Exactly. It's what, 10, 12 years or something, but every phone since the iPhone is just chasing the iPhone.
Yes.
And so when I see something that looks different, I also had a BlackBerry Key 1. So there's another weird failed. Okay, so you're the picture's being painted here of what I go for.
Very broad strokes.
Yeah, I like different form factors, right? And I remember vividly when they announced the Duo and Panos Panay had his, 40-minute long, here's the Duo, and here's what I've watched it like 4 times or something because I'm a lunatic. And it just, I just remember thinking, what a strange concept. I'm a dual monitor guy, right? So like it's some things kind of clicked for me immediately, but the hardware just looked incredible. I have a Surface Pro 7 and I love their hardware, and I thought, man, this could be really, really interesting. I wasn't a Windows Phone guy. Not because I had anything against it. I think I just more, for whatever reason at that point, I think the HTC Evo 4G was my first Android phone, because it was like, oh my God, a 4.3-inch screen, 10 megapixel camera, unbelievable. And then I was in the Android ecosystem, and I never really looked back for whatever reason.
So you were smarter than me. I did the HD2 or whatever, the HD, and that was the Windows 6.5 one.
Yep.
Which got me locked into Windows Phone, and I was a Windows user.
A toss of a coin, that could have been me. Could have been right there with you. So I wound up, in that Android ecosystem. So you see this crazy form factor. It's, it's incredibly thin. It's beautiful looking. And then, is there a more convincing and charismatic human than Panos Panay? I don't know. There may not be. It may
He's
just be
always
him.
pumped. He's always pumped, and he's always so happy and
He's
so
very earnest.
charismatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe everything he tells me.
Yeah.
It's just implicit. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm with you.
You're
I'm
going for it
rolling.
just like he is.
And so that sold me on it. And I pre-ordered the thing. I was parked outside Best Buy 20 minutes before they opened, like waiting on it. Of course, it's COVID time, so bring it out to the car for me and everything. September 10th, right before my birthday. So I was like, birthday present for myself, of course. And I got the thing, and I'll say that for me, the first, it goes up and down, right? It's in waves. Like some weeks, it's like, man, the Duo is just it's incredible. There's nothing like it. And then other times, I'm like, I want to throw this thing through a window because it's driving me insane. And I will make some people angry by saying that, because there are some people that are like, tell you what, people that love Microsoft and Surface devices, Windows devices, they are fervent. They love these things, and I'm a big believer in the subjectivity of this, right? So this is my experience. Some people get mad at me when I say, well, my Duo is pretty buggy. It's hard to use sometimes. Like, well, my Duo is fine. It's great. I'm glad it's fine. I'm really happy for you, but we can have, different experiences here. It is at times when it's working well, when it is at its best, when the software is flowing and it's flowing in conjunction with that hardware, which I do believe is really good, despite, the charging port cracking and all that nonsense. When it's all coming together, it is magical. It is an absolutely one of a kind device. And that's coming from someone who has a Z Fold 2 here too. It's an incredible device. The problem is that so often I pick it up and unlock it and something really weird starts happening. My launcher glitches out. It doesn't respond to my touch for 10 seconds while I'm just sitting there. Wait, come on. I just need to send a text like any second now. There's so many times that it just gets in my way. It's been factory reset. So it's not, and I'm not the only one, right? Like I'm so far from the only one.
No. According to your haters, you're the only one. It's
that's true. That's true. So they can read the comments from other people and then tell me I'm insane. It is what it is. It's the nature of the internet. The anonymity of the internet brings out the absolute worst in people, and it is what it is.
Agreed.
Blinders on, shut
it. It's interesting because, like you said, it's again, coming from the world of Windows Phone, I was in that community that, it's very Highlander-esque. Like, it's very black and white. Like, you can only have absolute experiences. So if I were to say my experience is, not so good, you have a whole community that's afraid that by saying that I've jinxed the entire hardware division. And then Microsoft's going to be like, all right, yank it. So they're like, no, you have to keep saying it and give excuses. Or kind of, brush over some of it or gloss over some of the not so nice things, which is, again, why I am drawn to your content specific. Because, again, I aside from people who got review units and then kind of ditched it, of higher profile YouTubers and things like that, there are still a group of people who have I forget the term it's called, but when you buy something and you have to justify it, there are a lot of people like that.
Buyer's remorse. Buyer's remorse.
No, it's not that, because then those are the people that just they hate the fact that they bought it.
The opposite, right? It's the thing that creates fanboyism. It's people have a tendency to conflate their purchases with themselves. So if I criticize your phone, you feel like you've been personally attacked, and you must now defend the phone / yourself, which is just silly.
Agreed. And which leads me to my next question, which is kind of like, with all that's been going on, and if you want to kind of give us any specifics, because, again, I know people can come to your content on Twitter or on your YouTube channel to kind of see some of your grievances with the device. If you want to highlight some of those before you answer this specifically, but what would you advise Panos, if you could, if he's listening, because I feel like Satya and Panos listen to us. They don't, but I want them to.
Absolutely. I feel it too. No, I'm with you.
Exactly.
He's here with us now.
He's at least here in spirit. So if you have any advice on, round two? Because I know we're all speculating that sometime late summer, early fall, that we'll be getting a version 2. What would be your dream about that? If you could put it together.
So it would be. I mean, on the hardware side, there's some things I would like to see that I just think we're going to get. Like, I think that I'm sure you guys know this, but when you look at the history of this device, this was not supposed to be a mobile phone. This was shifted into the mobile phone space pretty late in the game, which is why people complain about the camera not being very good. It's a webcam. It's not a camera. Like it's just not. And if you look at the size of the sensor, the glass, it's just not. It's a webcam. And as a webcam, it's fine. But now they know, right? So now they've known for probably like 2 years that this is going to be a phone and it will compete with phones. So, we're going to get a better camera. Whether we get, two lenses, whether we get that sweet ultra wide that I've been missing, I don't know about that. But we're going to get a better camera. We're going to, NFC seems likely to me as well, because again, like how much space does NFC take up? I've got it in a credit card. You're telling me
like
this
a
can't
tiny
fit
little chip.
Credit cards are pretty thin. We're gonna get NFC more than likely. Can we get wireless charging? That would be nice to have as well. I don't think these things are insane, and I think that we'll get these things. But again, the hardware of the Duo isn't the problem. I know that it's a Snapdragon 855, and that's last gen. Okay, well, it was fast when it came out. It's still fast now. Phones chips don't get slower when the new one comes out. Like there's
only so much that you could do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I made a video where I had PUBG Mobile being played on both screens, 2 separate instances of PUBG Mobile, auto running around the map with no lag. Like, don't tell me this thing's slow. Like, it's fine. But it's going to get, the hardware is going to improve. For me, the bigger concern is the software. And the fact that we are now, 7 months, almost 8. This is like the 8th month maybe now in. And, like my Surface Pen, the buttons still don't do anything. How is that? How is that a thing? That's the problem for me, is that there's such a lack of features. Like, whoa, we're bug fixing. Well, first off, like you're not. So no. If anything, you're introducing bugs. Like they introduced a bug where when you were in phone mode and you swiped up to go home, your launcher would blank out for like a half a second and then the icons would come back. Like you introduced that and it took you a month to fix it. A month.
Hey, we can't fix bugs if we don't know what the bugs are.
That's true. They created an obvious target.
That gets me into a question that I have. Are a lot of the problems with the Surface Duo to blame with Google and Android, or is it something that is Microsoft's problem? Because I know they worked with Google on the OS to get it right for the dual screen, and they're still working together for future people who want to make phones like the Duo. So who is to blame for all of these bugs?
Well, unfortunately, none of the issues I experienced on my Duo are present on any Android phone I've ever owned.
Wow.
So it's Microsoft.
There you go, Microsoft.
There you go.
And I see this constantly, whether it's in some Facebook groups or on Reddit. People are like, damn Android. It's not Android. It's not Android. Like you are so missing the target that is causing these problems. I'm sorry. And Microsoft is the biggest software company in the history of the world. So like, let's figure it out. Okay. Like you can't tell companies like TCL can make a phone that performs better than yours. You're Microsoft.
Yeah.
So, no excuses there. And I believe that you have to hold them accountable. You can't just sit here and say, oh, it's Google's fault. Okay, they are working with Google apparently. And a lot of these dual screen things are being rolled into Android 11. Guess what isn't on the Surface Duo?
Android 11.
What are we doing? That's a problem. But software is the issue with the Surface Duo. So if I could get any message across, they're going to do what they're going to do on the hardware. The hardware is going to improve, but you've got to fix the software. I could talk for 15 minutes about bugs that are on the Duo.
And he has.
I have multiple times, probably.
Multiple times.
You have to fix the bugs because when you're a productivity device, the device can't then make me less productive. When I need to send an email and my keyboard just won't appear. You know, that's not productivity. So, again, when the software is working, it's magical. The problem is, what is your actual uptime? If it's not 100%, is it 90? How far is too far? And for me, I don't want to pick up my phone. I'm a pretty patient guy, right? Like, I don't want to pick up. I know that I've bought a weird device. I know I'm an early adopter. I get that. I've done it a million times. I get it. 6 months on, we're still not really improving. If anything, we've gotten worse. The March update for me made things consider so bad that I bought this thing. That's how much
Oh
worse
boy.
the March update made things. The February update was good. I was like, okay, we're moving in the right direction. March update drops within a week. The thing is totally freaking out. Several comments from people, similar stories, although some people say the March update, now it's performing better than ever. Who knows? But at any rate, I
wonder, I was going to say, I wonder if this is part and parcel with their development process in general, because I feel like the way that you've just described it, we're experiencing Windows sort of issues on mobile, which can't exist. It just can't. Like, mobile moves too fast, too quickly, and it's too personal than Windows. You would say your default device when Windows doesn't work is your phone. And so what do you do when your phone doesn't work?
Right.
So I feel like that's kind of where they're at with this. Like, they'll introduce this one huge dump of fixes in a month, and like you said, they introduce new issues with it, and that's what they do in Windows. You can't do that necessarily. You have to keep iterating.
Competition's too stiff.
Too stiff, and Samsung even knows what they're doing.
Yes.
And if they can figure it out,
no one makes a bad phone. Like, that's the thing. Like, you could take the last 10 phones to be released running Android, blindfold me and have me pick one up, and I could daily drive it and be fine.
Yeah.
They're all good. They're all good now.
Agreed.
And then you look at the Duo that was $1,400 at release, and I get it. It's dual screen. It's different. It's weird. And Android 10 doesn't natively support that kind of thing. And but you can't tell me that, like, why doesn't my keyboard work? I mean, like, why does the touch response not? How come every update says improved touch response? Every update has said that. If it's not every one of them, maybe they missed once where they didn't say that. But it's like, are you though? Like, are you improving the touch response? Because mine still feels pretty crappy a lot of the time. So
it's just a disclaimer, the default disclaimer there. They don't delete that bullet point.
They've not changed the changelog on the Microsoft launcher in months.
Yeah.
They roll it up. It has not changed in months. What are you updating? Here's the thing that I should have said for Panos. Communicate better. Tell us what you're doing. Tell us anything.
Very much so.
That's what I want. Just talk to us. Just tell us where we're at. Like, you will buy so much goodwill from people by just being honest and saying, hey, we know this is a problem. We're actively working on it. We're hoping that this update will address it. Just talk to us. Like, we're beta testing this device. And as well as I do, the purpose of a beta test is communication to improve the device.
Exactly.
This is a beta test with approximately 0 communication. So how is that helping? Who is this helping?
I agree. This is kind of what we were mentioning about Windows 10 development, is that we used to have Gabe, who would come in and at least be the face of it and say, like, hey, stuff sucks, but we're working on it, guys. And this is specifically what we're working on. And this is what we'll be working on for this month. Leave me alone with the rest of the stuff. And people were, I think people were communicative about that, saying, like, okay, we appreciate that's what you're working on. We would like you to do other stuff.
Sure.
But we appreciate the fact that you've told us what you're working on. Now we just kind of have, like, here's our iterative release. It says fixes. You can figure them out.
Yeah. It drops when it drops. Does it help? Does it hurt? Who knows? And then what happens is everybody goes on Reddit and they do the thing of, like, is the camera better? Is this better? Can you guys tell me?
It feels faster.
It feels faster. Like, that's I think the camera has improved with every update, and I think they've actually mentioned camera improvement. I think once in the 6 updates that they pushed, 6 or 7, but every time it's improved the camera. Like, no, it's not. It's just not.
As long as the camera doesn't shoot just completely in black and white, it's always improved.
Yeah, I mean, it is a camera. You can take pictures.
Or if it doesn't blow up in your hand. A la Samsung.
True. We have had some issues with that in the past. But,
my next question actually
go ahead.
Would be, we talked about Duo, and we appreciate that, because I think I want to say you're kind of an expert in it, since you probably were one of maybe 6 people still using it. Um, what other Microsoft products do you use on a regular basis? If you do, I mean, I heard you said you had a Surface Pro 7.
Yep.
What else do you use software-wise? Just what do you use on a daily basis?
So, I mean, obviously my computer is a Windows 10 PC. It's a custom built gaming video editing rig. I sit in this chair way too much. Hear a lot. Hear a lot. I've got my Surface headphones here handy. Those go out with me a
Nice.
lot.
I have those too.
Yep. Gotta love the noise cancellation. This is another great example of just hardware that I love. The rings just feel great. They're just great headphones, and they've come down. You can get the original ones for like barely over $100 now, which is like a fantastic deal.
As long as your band doesn't break on the top, like mine's just separating.
I have seen that happening. So far, we are in good shape. No band cracking. We're doing okay. But I don't adjust it or anything. I'm pretty gentle with them, but they're very good headphones, and I do love the noise cancellation. When I go out somewhere, if I don't have those on, I have some noise canceling earbuds that are not Microsoft, because I go out into public and I want to be in my own world. And now with the mask on too, it's like I'm just gone, like no one can see my face. I can't hear them. It's great.
Oh no, I look like a character. I look like a character from what is that? Watch Dogs, I think it is, because I have a mask on, glasses on, headphone on. You can't see anything.
And then if you add the Surface earbuds, which are like earrings, then you're talking.
Oh yeah, definitely. There was something. Yeah, the Surface Pro 7. I actually have 2 of them. I had the i5 and the i3 for some reason. My wife uses the i3 occasionally. The i5 is the one I tend to use. Although I do find myself using it less with the Duo and the Z Fold here. Like that was one of the first things I noticed, was that when I got the Duo, I just kind of stopped using my laptop very much, or my Surface. I guess is that a laptop? Is that a tablet? I don't know. But I stopped. It's a little of both. A little of column A, a little of column B. But I did start using it way less because I just didn't feel like I needed to. Like I felt, the 2 screens on the Duo, that wide aspect ratio, I felt at home there. And so I don't go back to it nearly as much as I used to. I should use it more just because it is a good device. And it works very well, strangely enough.
I had the same phenomenon when I tested the Surface Go 2.
Yeah.
That I saw my usage of my laptops. It's just like plummet. Now again, this was kind of in the middle height of pandemic, so any screen that could host a webcam was useful anyway.
Yeah.
But when I was using the Go 2, I realized that like a lot of the heavy production stuff I do on my devices was sanctioned. You could say like, okay, these are the 2 hours I'm going to spend on that device, and I don't need to carry it with me to the living room. I don't need to. I'm just going to sit there and dedicate that, and then I can pick up my Go and do everything else with it. And I was wondering if that was what would happen with the Duo.
Yeah, absolutely. It's with that wider screen. What would happen is you'd be on your phone, you'd be looking at something like, I need a bigger screen. I just, for whatever that thing might have been, you just wanted a bigger screen. So you go over to your Surface. Well, on the Duo, people often underestimate how big a deal it is to have a wide screen. Like we're so used to these more and more narrow, like tall, skinny displays, like the Z Fold 2 has a ridiculous one. It kind of is this weird middle ground between a phone and a tablet in a lot of ways. So you might find yourself reaching for a proper tablet or laptop less with the Duo, again, when it's like it's in a good mood, like it's having a good day.
I feel like you're in a relationship with the Duo and you just have to like test it out.
Feels that way.
Like, so Duo, how was your day today?
Yeah, you open it up and you're like, how's the launcher looking? Is anything like askew and overlapping? Okay, we look okay.
Okay,
maybe it'll go in the pocket today. Maybe we'll cruise with the Duo for a little bit today. Yeah, I described it in my 6-month review as a death by 1,000 cuts kind of situation.
Yes, I remember that.
Nothing about it is deal breaking. It's just a million like little annoyances that just add up to where you're just kind of tired. It just wears you out. Which is a shame because I love the Duo. This has sounded very negative about the Duo. I love the Surface Duo. It is such a cool device. I just feel like I'm in some sort of mildly, not an abusive relationship, like physically, but maybe like an emotionally abusive relationship.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just mean to me.
Yeah. The Duo is just negging you.
Yeah, like I show it so much love and dedication, and it just doesn't return the favor. You know, like I feel like it just doesn't want me around.
Well, that'll segue us into another question that we have.
Yeah.
I know you talk a lot about the Duo, but what are your thoughts on Windows and what's going on with Windows? I know Kareem touched on it, where he's like, "Oh, it's just bug fixes now, and it's not like anything major, like no fancy visual updates." So, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on where Windows is heading, and even probably Windows 10X?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're probably due for a pretty substantial refresh as far as the looks go, and I think Windows 10X is probably a harbinger of things to come. I think a lot of that stuff is going to get pulled over, and it's about time. Like Windows 10 is such a weird mess of like old UI and new UI. Like it's very strange. Like there's like duplications of different settings and things. Like, should I go to my control panel for this, or is the settings where I need to be? Like, I don't know. It's very strange. So that all that stuff needs to be unified. And the fact that it's 2021 and that has not happened is kind of mind-boggling to me. But hey, you're in first place, so like, what's pushing you? Like, what else? Why? Why would you even bother? Because everything runs Windows.
Well, we were talking about this last week. Is that using File Explorer is kind of your definitive thing that people would love to see immediately changed. Is that a lot of these sub menus that we see, all like your control panels, things like that, people have baked into their own servers, operating systems. Like they link right into these things. So if you were to yank it and just put it all into this new settings menu for us, that as consumers, there are going to be people whose systems are going to be like,
you're going to break everything.
What the hell just happened?
This is true.
I just wish that we could see the gradual progression, because I don't want to wake up one morning and be like, for me as a consumer, it'd be great to be like, all right, everything's just in this new settings menu. I could roll with that, be no problem. But as a IT guy, I would like to them at least say, hey, we've been testing out this merger. Like, this is where your stuff will be housed. Right now, it doesn't seem like they're doing. I mean, they're moving so slow about doing that. We've added some, device settings menu stuff into the new settings, but it's been so incremental. You're like, are you even really trying? Is there just like a guy named Todd who does all this by himself and it's like, free time? Like, can you get a team going? And can we start to see a roadmap of like, okay, these 3 months, this quarter, this is what we moved over, and we fixed it or we tested it, and we've ironed all that stuff out. This quarter, we're gonna start moving some more of that stuff over. As you said, we're probably going to be seeing a big refresh, which is part and parcel with what we're saying about Panos. Is his legacy going to be just hardware? Right. Will he be able to manage this whole Windows software shift? Is it just going to be cosmetic stuff? Because I feel like Windows is pretty. It's a foundational kind of thing. He doesn't really need to change too much of the UX about it. So he can probably get away with just saying like, "Hey, I made everything look better," and here you go. But I'm wondering if that's going to be like, are we just going to say like, oh, he's just great at devices, his software still sucks?
Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely a possibility, and you're right. They don't need to totally up in Windows. It just needs to be polished up, and things need to be unified a bit. And I think that it makes me wonder. You brought up the distinction between normal, consumers versus more corporate side of things. Windows 10X is we know who that's going to be targeting. My problem with Windows 10X, like I've actually covered like Chromebooks on my channel before.
Yeah, I saw that.
I like Chromebooks. The fact that they run Android apps is cool. The battery life is good. The form factor, they're cheap. All this stuff is good. Well, I know what they're targeting with Windows 10X. Like that's a market that they, that used to be the netbook market. And then the netbook market turned into Chromebooks and they lost it. Like it's gone. They do not have that market anymore. In school, they lost that too. So they're, we know what they're targeting. And, for a lot of people, like my mom uses a Chromebook as her primary laptop and she loves it. It's simple and it works. So they're going to have to get her to replace that with a Windows 10X device. And, could they down the line? Yeah, I mean, they could because it's simple and it'd be easy to use. For people like me, though, until I can run my video editing software on it, till I can run Steam and all my games on it, I don't care. Like it's just a less useful Chromebook.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that there's rumors
Oh.
of that project to bring Android app support in, but they're not going to have Google's back end.
Approval, yeah.
So you don't have any Google Play services. So, even if you have Android apps, which would be great to have baked into all of Windows, it's still going to be subpar. I mean, they're going to have to literally create their own replacement for the Google Play services and some kind of a mechanism to quickly swap them out to make that work. And that's not super easy to do.
If they
No.
can't do it, on the Surface Duo, can they do it on Windows 10?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm skeptical of, there's several things, whether it is the Android app support that's rumored, Project Latte, I believe is what it's called.
Mhm.
And then there's, just the general idea of like no Win32 app support for Windows 10X at launch. And they want you to do a subscription service to stream Win32 apps to your device. Like, I guess,
Well,
that's something to somebody.
This is, and I think this goes
it
back
won't be me.
to your earlier concept, your conversation about communication.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think if they had someone come out, and maybe it's not Nadella, maybe it is Panos, and he can clearly and concisely explain that like Windows 10 is the Windows 10 for everyone else. It's your consumer one. It's the one that gets everything you need. As a creator, as an enterprise guy, you can go there. If you have specialized, you need a thin client. If you have specialized work environments, things like that, Windows 10X is for you, and that's what we can kind of lock down for schools and things like that. So you won't be getting the full feature set because you don't want the full feature set. You don't want to deal with all of that. You don't want to have a dedicated admin team.
Right.
That's for Windows 10X. And as far as the app thing, I've always had this like pushback for this app conversation, especially for Windows. Not that I'm trying to justify the fact that Windows sucks when it comes to apps, but I feel like people conflate the idea of lots of apps, both on their mobile device and on their workstation, as being equivalent, and I don't think so, because you say you have a lot of Google services like Google Maps, the Google Assistant, things like that. I feel like those are mobile intent.
Sure.
Because and a lot of the apps are backed in by web services.
Yeah.
And when you're on your desktop or you're on your laptop, you're not moving around. You're searching the web. You're using the backends that are the same backends that you're using for your mobile device when you're out in the world, when you need it to be compact and you need it to be to fit within that 6 to 7 inch screen format.
Right.
So when people are like, Windows needs Android support, I'm like, for what apps? They have all of the full versions of the same apps you would have been using on your desktop. I mean, we use it for the Your Phone thing just so people can feel like they're streaming the same app. And I'm like, aside from some baking apps and some things that need a camera dedicated, I don't know if we necessarily need all of those Android apps.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few blind spots in that, but yeah, like 90% of the big apps that people use are there, and PWAs are becoming extremely good at this point. So, do I think that baking in Android support will be like a big game changer for Windows? No, it won't. They need to focus more on, making the PWA thing a bigger deal, which they are. They seem to be focusing on it pretty heavily. But in particular, when I look at Windows 10X, and it's like, okay, so can I run any Win32 app? No. Can I run maybe Android apps then? Because they're going to be like smaller, laptop-y, maybe touchscreeny kind of stuff. No. Okay, so I have the stuff in the Microsoft Store. Great. And and PWAs and web apps are there. But now what you essentially have created is a Chromebook with fewer things you can do. Agreed. So who's that for?
You should just name it. They should change the name from Windows 10X to Windows Nope.
Right. I don't know who that product is for.
Maybe I don't think they do either. Hopefully they'll be able to communicate or come up with some kind of crazy lie that'll get people buying it.
What was is this just Windows RT again, or Windows 10S? Like, are we just, why are we doing the same thing and it's the same thing?
Yeah.
I don't understand. It's very odd to me.
Technically they're pulling out a lot of the code stuff that made it legacy Windows,
Yeah.
so that they can update it faster via the cloud,
Good.
like Chrome. So I
Like,
think that's
like Crow.
yeah, I think that's where they're headed for. Except they kind of made some steps and strides with Windows 10s, which I've always championed, saying like, hey, a
Yeah.
few tweaks here and there and a little communication, Windows 10s could have been your Chrome OS competitor 3 years ago.
Sure.
But if you want to do it this way,
yeah, like that's the thing is like we started down this road. We went like a few steps down this road and went, I don't know. And then we jumped ahead 4 years and we're doing it again. Like, why didn't you just stick to it? Like you were already doing this.
yeah, I feel like Microsoft also always suffers from the idea that people don't have patience for them as they do for other things. Like we just celebrated Chrome OS's 10-year anniversary, I think it was a couple months ago. And to be honest with you, like it's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
And Microsoft comes out with Windows 10s, and everyone's like, "Get this out of here! It's been on the market for 2 months. Get this ugly baby out of my house."
That's what happens. That's what happens when you're number one for so long. There's only so much that you could do to make something that's so good even better. That's the reason why people are so critical of Microsoft every single time. And then when Apple goes and does the same thing, or when Google goes and does the same thing and just changes the way it looks, they're like, "Oh, it's so beautiful."
But I want to say Microsoft's unique in the fact that they're people that are critical to them stay critical. People, I will tell you this, and you guys can see this phenomenon. When Apple releases a product, there are 80% of the people that are fans start off very critical. And it's a very repetitive cycle. They come out with a new iPhone, everyone's like, oh, nothing was really changed. The notch is still there. The cameras are only incrementally good. The battery life, they'll pick it apart, and then 3 months down the road, be like, this is why I still have my iPhone. This is why I love the iPhone or the iPad or Mac OS, things like that. When Microsoft comes out with something, it's like burn it with fire, and then 6 months down the road, they're like, did we bury it? If we didn't bury it, dig it up, burn it again, and then bury it one more time. It's just they're very unique in that. And Google the same way. Google's weird. They will kill their own stuff before they even give people a chance to get mad at it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, were you guys interested in this? Good, I sniped it. Now we're moving on.
Too bad. It's dead. It's dead already. How many chat clients have I tried from Google?
Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah.
And a lot of them were good. Hey, you know what? I used Google Allo for a while. And
I was a Wave guy.
Yeah. I mean, Hangouts was pretty cool. Yeah. There is something to be said, though, about being in that first place position and being something that like so many people use. Not everybody uses Windows 10, but most people use Windows 10.
Or a version of Windows.
Right. So you go and you make you alter it in some way, and you're disrupting a lot more people. So, when you're talking about Chrome OS, Chrome OS drops and it's a new thing and no one has any expectations of it. And in 10 years, how far has Chrome OS come? It's unbelievable how far it's come.
Yep.
I mean, I would love to have the ability to pick up like a one or whatever it would have been, a 1.0 Chromebook, just to see where that thing came, just to remember again, like, oh wow, it was literally a Chrome browser and that was it.
Yeah, I think
no touch support. Yeah. I mean, just basic. It's come so far.
That was back when they limited devices to, I think, 11.5-inch screens. Yes. Like they couldn't go bigger than that, and they sucked at battery life. It was crazy.
They've come so far now, and I kind of wonder if that's what they're aiming for with 10X, is that they are trying to create this, they see the good things about Chrome OS, that it can be updated so quickly, and that, showing my mom like, oh, pop up, I gotta restart for an update. And she's like, I've been putting that off for days. It'll take 3 seconds. You'll be right back. Not Windows. Like it'll literally take 3 seconds. She's like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. It's Chromebook.
Well, there's so many. I see stuff they're doing a lot with Edge and its extensions that I believe if they were to kind of say that, we're going to get rid of the store, we're going to put everything in extensions. The update mechanism for Edge is super quick. Like I can update that thing and be right back with the same open windows and things like that and extensions and whatnot in like 5 seconds. So if they can start,
because it's Chrome.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
It's just a Chrome OS.
If you can't beat them, join them.
I'm all about it. And this is something too that a lot of people got really mad about with the Duo, is that I want it to run Windows 10X. You really don't. You really don't.
No,
you don't.
It would have been a mess, and
it
is still a mess.
Worse. It would have been. would have been worse, and or this idea of like, I wish Windows Phone was still around. If they launch Windows Phone again today, it would fail for the same reasons that it failed before. Nothing has
If
changed.
not worse, yeah.
So if you can't beat them, join them. And if you want to build a mobile device that is going to work the best, I know Android sucks, but it only sucks here apparently. Like Android's not the problem. It was perfectly reasonable for them to put Android on the Surface Duo. It was the only option that they had, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and with that being said, I think that comes to basically the end of our interview with you. I mean, I would love for you to give everyone the kind of online stats you want them to know. Where can they go? Where can they support you, tip you, all that kind of stuff? Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, if you search "scary if literal," which is a really weird name, but it comes from an inside joke from many years ago. You remember this trended on Twitter several years ago. It was the hashtag "scary if literal," and me and a few friends were thinking of things like "keep your eyes peeled" would be scary if
Right.
it were taken
Oh,
literally.
there you go.
And that, for whatever reason, was just a thing in my friend group that stuck. And this channel actually, there's probably still some videos on the channel. If you sort by like oldest first, you'll see some like just us playing games being stupid. A lot of that actually. And it just sort of transitioned into me doing this thing. And I just was like, names don't matter. Like, what's at Google? Like it'll all work itself out.
What's a Google?
But if you search "scary if literal," scaryifliteral.com, YouTube is "scary if literal," Twitter, it's all under that. So you can find me under that quite easily. It is unique. There's nothing else you're going to find if you search this.
Right, exactly.
There's an advantage there.
Yeah, and again, I want to say thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on. We'd love to have you again. Hopefully, maybe after build, we kind of see what they're doing with Windows 10, if they get some communication about Windows 10X, or
Sure.
we get some more rumors or leaks about the Windows Duo, or I mean Surface Duo, or if they finally throw out a patch that actually fixes stuff. We'd love to have you
Sure.
back.
Hey, shoot me an invite, and I'm sure I can make the time. I'd love to be back anytime. Thanks for having me on. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was our talk with Shane. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We talked a lot about the Duo, a lot about what's great about it, what's wrong about it, what Panos can do in the future. We even talked about Chrome OS. So again, please, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we would love to have him on and have more people like him talking about stuff like that.
And he spent like all of his time talking about the Surface Duo, but like Kareem said to start the show, we're not done with Surface just yet. There's still a lot of Surface stuff to get going. I'll say Surface like 29 times because this is our 29th episode. We're like Surface, 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 Surface. And
I think
now
we're over halfway there.
So now we'll talk about Surface Laptop 4, which was the release date was apparently leaked. A new report from Win Future, which is a German blog, has revealed some of the pricing details and the European release date for the Surface Laptop 4, which should be coming, according to them, April 27th. Again, this is just a rumor. This is not confirmed, but it looks like we could be getting Surface Laptop 4 by the end of this month, after 3 months of rumors of it coming in January and February and March. Now it's finally coming in April, apparently. And the report doesn't include specific pricing details for all configurations of the Surface Laptop 4, but he did talk about the pricing on the 13.5-inch model with the AMD Ryzen 5 processor and 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. He's like, that will start around 1,149 euros. And he also talked about the Core i5 model with 128 gigabytes of storage, which will start at 1,000 US dollars. But he did not get into the European pricing of that. And he also confirmed what we already knew, which is what we were already talking about, which is how the Surface Laptop 4 will come with the option for Intel and AMD chips on both models this time around. On the Intel side, you'll get the 11th gen Core i5 and Core i7, and then on the AMD side, you're getting last gen's Ryzen processors, which is the 4680U and the Ryzen 7 4980U Surface Edition chips. Again, disappointing because these aren't the new Ryzen 5000 chips. And I believe it was Zach or someone who was tweeting about how the new Surface laptop models aren't coming with Intel Iris Xe graphics.
Yeah, Zach Bowden over at Windows Central had a tweet up about the new 11th gen version of this chip somehow coming without the more powerful Xe graphics, which is basically what Tiger Lake has been kind of focused on, was GPU performance and getting some more squeezing more graphics out of that. I don't know how Microsoft managed to make a deal where they yanked the best part of it out. Again, these are all rumors. This is all speculation. Some of this stuff is leaked, but we don't know what the source material is and if it's been updated since the pandemic. So I'm going to keep hope out that all they do is take the chip that they use for the Surface Pro 7 Plus and put it into these old 2019 body frames, and I think they'll still have a hit. I mean, the performance boost and the graphics boost I've seen on the Surface Pro 7 Plus with just that chip alone will be worth the upgrade for people who are clamshell fans.
Is there a reason why they won't go for XE and they'll instead go for the older Intel graphics? Could it be related to the pandemic, maybe, and the shortage of the chips or something? Because
would
I
have to,
believe
yeah.
that is really a let. Zach is right. Honestly, that is a letdown because you could go out and you could buy I think it was Asus or Acer that just announced the new VivoBook Flip, which has the Ryzen 5000 chips, and those only start at $600. And here we have a last gen Surface with a last gen Ryzen chip and a Surface for $1,000. So what's going on? Why are they going with last gen components?
If I had to predict, I think it's exactly what you just said. I think what ended up happening was a lot of OEMs bought up all of these chips at the beginning of the pandemic, probably got contracts for them. Microsoft always, at least so far with Surface devices, always tends to caution a year behind. And this kind of is coming to bite them in the butt while everyone else has the Tiger Lake versions of these 11th gen chips. Microsoft waited a year, and now it's because of the pandemic, there's not enough supply. So now they're having to stuff these devices that are coming out in 2020 or 2021 with these chipsets from what Intel has left, basically.
But
if true.
But if you do like new colors, because like everyone went nuts when Apple released the cobalt, what is it, blue iPhone. There is a new color apparently coming for the Surface laptop. What is it? Ice blue or is it cobalt blue? I'm not
I think it's
sure which
cobalt
one.
blue as well.
Yeah, they have a new color coming apparently, which pretty sure will silence all of the haters.
Yes, the color swath is basically how you're going to identify, because again, performance wise, you're not going to see that great of a leap without the GPU in it. So you at least tell your friends, like, this is the 2021 version. How do you know? It's cobalt blue.
But anyway, let's get into our third topic, which is something that I've been really eager to talk about, because I know when this ad came out, me and you had a very lively chat about it in our teams on Microsoft, which is the new Surface Pro 7 versus iPad ad. I'll let you get into it because I know you always like these kind of controversial ads.
Yeah, I do. I like them for what they stand for, not necessarily their effectiveness, because again, I don't think anybody's watching this going, that kid's right. I think what we have here is a 30-second clip, which features the same teenager from the Surface Pro 7 versus the MacBook ad as the first one that we got back in January 7th or January sometime. Except this time, again, I think this was all shot with at the same time, so they probably just cut it up for extended marketing period. But again, with this time, the kid is focused on the problems you get if you buy an Apple Pro or a 7 Pro, Surface Pro 7. And as you'd expect, it begins taking some jabs at the iPad Air's lack of integrated kickstand, which again, the Surface Pro 7 has that. We also talk about, he kind of just demonstrates how awkward it is to have to buy the Folio case or Magic Keyboard, which are much more expensive versions, to kind of get the same functionality, just being able to not have to hold your iPad while working with it. Again, I'm always a fan of these kind of things, because it does point out a reality. I remember we were talking to our guest about my HTC HD2, which is the Windows Phone 6.5 that had. But one of the biggest things that it had was an integrated kickstand. It was in the camera module. You open it up, and you kind of just put your phone down and watch stuff. And I don't know why phones moved away from it, but it is kind of a convenience that the iPad Pro, iPad Air, whatever it is, doesn't have. There's some other things about these commercials. I'm gonna let you get into that part of it.
You did not get into my favorite part of it, which
Well, I
is
was going
like
to say I'm letting you get into it.
well, everyone knows the problem with dongles. I mean, Intel had their whole ad, which we talked about a couple weeks ago, about how it mocked the MacBook needing dongles and how Windows PCs have all the ports you need. And then, well, this commercial plays on that too. The kid holds up the iPad, which has USB-C, and with a dongle dangling from it, and he's like, "Do you want to be this guy?" Who has a stupid iPad with a stupid dongle hanging out of it. Whereas you could get a Surface Pro 7, which has a USB-A port, a Surface Connect port, and USB-C. So again, they're playing on how iPads only have one port, where the Surface Pro 7 has everything you need.
Yeah, I think the USB-A is being undersold as a functionality because again, I don't know too many external hard drives as of right now that have USB-C to USB-C connectors. They all usually either do the micro USB to USB-A or something like that. So for anybody who's had decades worth of content or photos, media, anything like that stored on a hard drive, the iPad Pro is it's a real non-starter unless you find some kind of weird dongle to incorporate that. So right off the gate, that's another reality that the Surface Pro 7 has over the iPad. Again, I think when it comes to dongles, I use a dongle for my Surface Pro 7, to be honest with you. I don't see them as being a hindrance, so to speak, but the convenience of how many things you can plug in at one time and to be recognized in the software in a very convenient and intuitive way, I think Surface still has that over it. I don't know how the file system necessarily works in the iPad, if it pops right back up, or if you need to go into a specialized app in order to start accessing that stuff. Like those are the kind of things, after you buy something that you have to really start working out. And if you're straight into getting productive with your device, I feel like people who are already used to Windows are going to know exactly what to do when they have this smaller version of Windows in their hands.
And then, of course, the rest of the commercial goes into that classic thing that us Microsoft fans love to say is that your iPad is just a stupid tablet, and your Surface Pro 7 is a tablet as well as a full-blown computer. And that is what the teenager gets into in the ad, where he's like, it's just. The teen mentions that the iPad Pro is just a tablet, but the Surface is a full-blown computer and a tablet. And then the ad ends with the price comparison. And I think the Surface Pro is labeled as $880, and then the iPad Pro is labeled at $1,348. So
Ouch.
again, Microsoft is saying that buy a Surface Pro 7. It's cheaper, it's better, it's not a tablet, it's also a computer. You won't need dongles. It doesn't fall over on the table when you hold it up. It has a kickstand, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think their messaging will resonate even better as we start to slowly come out of this pandemic because we were able to kind of have all of our devices right within vicinity right in the vicinity of our reach. So it didn't matter if you had a phone, a tablet, a switch, a laptop, things like that, because it didn't take you very hard. You didn't need to consider uh, portability, mobility, anything like that. So when people start to have to go back to work or start traveling on the trains, planes, things like that, then it becomes, what do I pack in my bag? Do I pack my tablet with its keyboard and my laptop just in case? Do I pack the external hard drive because I can't plug in, a thumbstick to the device? Things like that become considerations. And when those become values to people, that's when you start to say, okay, maybe the Surface Pro is the one thing I need. But right now, I think Apple's still sitting pretty with their like, oh, have a phone, have a tablet, have a laptop as well, and then have your iMac, and then have an Apple TV. Pretty soon, people gonna have to start reconsidering that stuff again.
Well, we're not done with Surface just yet. You hinted at the top of the show about a breaking story about how someone actually got their hands on the now canceled, or now I know MSPU said canceled, but officially Microsoft said that it's not canceled,
Postponed,
it's
delayed.
postponed or
Yeah.
delayed. So the delayed Surface Neo.
Yeah, someone got their hands on what looks to be a dummy unit because it doesn't have an actual working screen on it, so you don't even get to see what Windows 10X would have been like. I think that was the big draw. Like, as of from the outside of it, looks just like a bigger Duo right now. That doesn't work. So, but it's interesting that someone got their hands on it because I feel like it should have went in that landfill with all the other, what is that? What was it? Mini Surface Pro that they were going to come out with, and all
Surface Mini, and
the
then
Surface Mini,
Surface
the
Courier.
the Courier, like all those like mythological uh, Windows Microsoft devices. That's where I thought this was going to be at. So the fact that someone has this means that they at least produced enough of these to for it to leak. And it's interesting to see that this person, whoever has it, is mentioning that it's canceled when Microsoft again has only talked about Windows 10X in the briefest of mentions, and that's been over the last 2 years. So, as far as you know, they've refined the software for single screen, which basically makes the Neo null and void. And we'll see if they ever come back to it, or if they just put, as our guest said, focus their efforts, harness their efforts into the Duo, and make that the device that you need. You get a Duo, and you get yourself a Go or a Pro, and you have all the devices you're going to need for all your productivity, creativity. And you don't need Windows 10X on the Neo.
Well, that will close our Surface book for now because again, we want to keep our eye on Surface stuff because there could be a event coming up soon because remember the leak said April 27th. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
keep your eyes peeled and be sure to listen to us and read on Microsoft for all your Surface news. But let's move forward now to something not Surface, which is kind of a more serious matter because hackers are apparently trying to sell stolen data from LinkedIn users.
yeah, and more than likely, your data is probably in there. Cyber News is reporting that 500 million LinkedIn users' data have been scrapped from the site, or been scraped from the site itself, and it's potentially on sale at this hackers forum, I believe. I don't know the specific one. And as a way to show proof, they've already posted 2 million users' data. Now, the data that's been collected includes, the full names of from the profiles, email addresses, phone numbers, employee data, meaning, how many people are in your company, the names of the company, addresses, stuff like that associated with it, links to and from the website, so things that you posted or shared has been also leaked, and LinkedIn IDs, so they can at least attribute a lot of this data to a specific person versus just having random numbers and letters assigned. So that's pretty dangerous. And the hackers are currently allowing people to look at specific data for about $2 a form credit. So $2 per ID or per user data. But they're looking to sell the entire batch, the 500 million, for a four-digit minimum pricing sum. They don't go specific about what they want. Um, like we said at the top, it's just super devastating. It's part of we link this into Microsoft News because it's Microsoft own thing. They've been in the news for phishing scams and phishing attacks based on vulnerabilities in their Exchange and Outlook services or Office 365 services. So this is just another thing to add in a list of bad things that have been happening over the last year and a half as far as hackers are concerned and Microsoft is associated with. Uh, we haven't heard any official word from LinkedIn or Microsoft, even from the hackers themselves as of late, about what's going on. I don't know how LinkedIn's going to handle this, or how, you don't necessarily give in to ransoms, but this is pretty devastating. And for anybody who has that amount of money, they could potentially get away with even more hacks down the road with this information. They can get into so many more emails, start spamming a ton of stuff, get into credit card and more personal information if it's associated with your email or if there's any information in your email about that kind of stuff. So again, Microsoft hasn't said anything yet. LinkedIn hasn't really come out and said anything, but I'm assuming beyond this weekend that they're going to have to address this officially at some point.
And if you're concerned about your data being part of the leak, you could try out Cyber News. they have a tool where you could go to and enter your email or your phone number to see if your data has been leaked as part of it. So we'll have the link for that in the chat as well as in
Yeah.
the comments.
And
And
for
of
any of you
course,
that are, yeah, any of you that are concerned about it, I entered my own. Saw that I actually had my email hacked, but it wasn't from the Facebook one or from SolarWinds or from this one. It was some random thing. So I've got it and changed some stuff too. But it does seem to be legit. So give it a shot.
yeah, and that is that, which means we covered a lot of topics. We had a great chat with a Surface Duo enthusiast. We talked about the hack covering LinkedIn. We got into Surface Pro 7 ads versus iPad ads. We covered the Surface Laptop 4 news. And that means it's time for the week ahead, where we'll talk about some topics which we think will be big in the week ahead for Microsoft, aside from Surface, which we talked about like 29 or 28 times already.
That's going to be 30, 31 probably.
Yeah, so for the week ahead, we want to keep an eye out for E3 2021 because it's coming back this year after the pandemic as a reimagined and all virtual event that's going to take place from June 12th to June 15th. I believe Sony will be missing from it this time around, but Microsoft and Nintendo are confirmed, as well as Ubisoft. So keep an eye out for that. And then, other than E3, we always talk about Teams here, and Teams is always trending on our site. So we just want to speed through some things that we might have missed this week, and I'll let you handle those.
Yeah, we have some Teams update stuff about custom backgrounds. Should be coming to iOS and Android. Teams Rooms devices are getting the custom backgrounds as well, so it's just a whole background palooza. There's should be some also whiteboard integration into Teams, so you guys can start doing your active brainstorming in a more collaborative manner. Teams is also getting a new multi-window experience for managing live events. So maybe we'll start to get highlights or hosting or highlights. So you can highlight specific people during your event manually. That'd be pretty nice. Microsoft Teams is also will also let users join meetings with digital codes next month, which could be
That
pretty
is a
big as
big
well.
deal. That is a big
Yeah,
deal because it's something that Zoom has always had.
and they've had for a while, which again, it seems more intuitive and just easy to use and get people inundated with Teams without having to go the full route of having a Microsoft account or having a school account or things like that.
And that's that for Teams. I think we covered like every single Microsoft product in this hour so far.
Yeah, it's been a long one, but we appreciate you guys for hanging with us.
But we're not done yet. The big news is that GTA V is coming to Xbox Game Pass
Yeah.
after they announced that MLB The Show is coming to Xbox Game Pass. So Microsoft is really going all out and getting these big hit titles on Game Pass.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Grand Theft Auto 5. It's been probably one of their most uh, prolific online experiences and the longest running ones as of today. So, for those of you who had the game back in the day or can't find the disc for it, this is a great way to kind of get back into that.
And that's that for now. But we also have to tease a guest who's coming on our show next week. If you guys have Twitter and are active on Twitter, you might have seen Florian B once or twice because he's always digging around and looking for new features. In Microsoft products like Office and Windows. He's a Windows Insider MVP, and he happens to be good friends with our writer Laurent. And Laurent convinced him to come on our podcast. So we'll have Florian on our podcast next week. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, some more enthusiast and active Windows users. So it's great to have.
And that said, I think we're done here. We covered a lot of stuff, and now I'll leave you for the traditional outro.
We're graciously going to leave you guys for the rest of your day. If you do want to talk to us, comment or questions, anything like that, you can reach me at Mindhead1 at Twitter. Again, it's Mindhead1, not Mindhead, which it should be. And for you,
A back Jern.
Yeah, and for all the news, for any of our giveaways, for the latest that's happening in the week, you can also find on Microsoft at Twitter as well. If you don't want to go to the site, if you're on your phone and need to keep up with news, that's a great place to find stuff as well. And again, I thank you all for your time. Thanks for joining us and sticking with us for this long.
Yep. See you again soon. Next week, same place, same time.
Yeah, wear a mask, stay safe, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Bye bye for now.